Hey there, welcome to another installment of our Jumpcuts series based on the book of Proverbs. It's all about wisdom and how to apply it to different areas of your life. Up next, we have a message from Kappauf, founder of One at a Time, a nonprofit that is dedicated to providing families with access to clean water. We met Sean when he was on staff here at the Crossing, and we love partnering with him and Ada to make a difference around the world. You're going to love what he has to say about wisdom today. Enjoy!
Well, hello everyone. My name is Sean Kappauf, and I am excited to be here with you guys this morning. And just a little bit about myself. I used to work here at the Crossing for about 8 or so years. I mean, it's been a little bit of time. I don't remember the exact amount, but it was an incredible time. This place is like family still to me. Every time I walk here on campus, I feel like, man, I go back in time, and all I have are good memories. Except for one moment. I'm just kidding. No, they're all great. But I'm excited. I've been married. My wife and I celebrated 10 years of being married. That's a decade. Just a couple months ago. And I'm like, man, that's incredible. Like 10 years. And I told my wife, I'm like, 10 years of you being married to me, that if that's not evidence for God existing, I don't know what else is. But seriously, 10 years, we have 2 kids. My daughter's 6, my son is 4, and they are full of energy and full of life. It is so incredible. And at times, they're also full of it, if you know what I'm talking about. When they get tired, they get cranky. Man, they are a lot, and parenting is so hard at times. You feel me on that one? Parenting is not the easiest thing in the entire world. It is the most rewarding thing. I love my kids. They are incredible. And if there's anything I'll take more of, it's wisdom when it comes to being a parent, right? I need wisdom as much as I can get. And you guys have all been in a series called Jumpcuts, how to use ancient wisdom to improve your modern life. And this week, we're going to look at wisdom in our families. So we're going to start off with some knowledge. We're going to learn in part of what the scripture has to say about wisdom. So we're going to go into Proverbs a little bit and learn from there. And then we're going to learn what Proverbs has to say about wisdom within our families. And then we're going to take that and we're going to move that into the New Testament. And we're going to look at a story and see how that wisdom is played out and hopefully give us a bit of discernment for our own family life. And then we'll look at some action steps. Does that sound good? All right, let's start in Proverbs. Just to give you a bit of an understanding of Proverbs, Proverbs was a collection of wise sayings. It took about 300 years to collect it all together. And these wise sayings were intended to give to the up-and-coming young men who would become temple priests. So within the book of Proverbs, if you read the whole thing, you'll hear analogies of Lady Wisdom and Lady Folly, and even the Proverbs 31 wife. You maybe even know about that. Those were all metaphors for the temple priests to recognize that wisdom and folly, that our decisions that we make, they are connected to us. They're basically like married to us. And so it was an instruction of, hey, we want you to become wise. So here are some wise sayings. And so the part of Proverbs that we're going to look at here in just a moment talks about some of those benefits when you choose to link up with wisdom, or in essence, Lady Wisdom. So if you have a Bible, you can open up to Proverbs chapter 8. If not, you can just take a look on the screen here. Proverbs 8, verse 12 and 21 says this: I am Lady Wisdom, and I live next to sanity. Knowledge and discretion live just down the street. You can find me on Righteous Road. That's where I walk, at the intersection of Justice Avenue, handing out life to those who love me, filling their arms with life, arm loads of life. Now notice that last part. Handing out life to those who love me, filling their arms with life, arm loads of life. Man, that is so good. And I don't know about you, but I want to give armloads of life to my family, right? To my kids, to my spouse, to my parents, armloads of it. And yet I find myself stuck. desiring to give that life, but falling short all the time. Do you feel me on that? Wanting to do good, but falling short in the process? I mean, parenting is hard. Life is hard. Being nice is not easy. How is it that we can embrace this kind of wisdom in our family life so that in the waking moments of the day to the end of the day, we are pursuing a path that gives armloads of life? How do we do that? Well, Jesus shares a story of a father and his two sons that reveals what it looks like when someone is embraced with armloads of life. If you have a Bible, open up to Luke chapter 15, starting in verse 11. It says this. I will actually, as we go through the story, I'm going to stop here and there to give some context to it, and then we'll kind of piece it that way. So the story goes like this. Verse 11. There was a man who had two sons. The younger one said to his father, "Father, give me my share of the estate." So he divided his property between them. Now let's stop right here. Jesus starts off with the story with the younger son asking his dad for his inheritance while his dad is still alive. Now, in a patriarchal Middle Eastern society back then, lack of respect for the father is just beyond comprehension. You would never, ever do something like this. By the son saying this, he's essentially telling his dad that he hates him and wishes he is dead. So for Jesus to start off a story this way is so bizarre for his listeners because this is just something that should never happen. Something so bad, so wrong, an incredible injustice. Kind of like us hearing that the San Francisco Giants are the best team in baseball. That can't be right because, well, we all know that the Dodgers are the best, obviously. That's where Andrew is shaking his head saying, no, the Cubs are, but let's be honest, the Dodgers really are the best. Nevertheless, the father grants his younger son the inheritance. He gives him what he asked for. Jesus goes on with the story in verse 13 and says this. Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had, set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in that whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went out and hired himself out to a citizen of that country who sent him to his fields to feed pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. When he came to his senses, he said, "How many of my father's hired servants have food to spare? And here I am starving to death." So the son goes away, spends all the money, crashes, hits rock bottom. I mean, how many of us know what that's like, right? I do. I've been there. And he comes to his senses, he realizes that the life that he is in right now is no good. And he'd be better off being one of his dad's servants. And what ends up happening is the son decides, I'm going to go home. Look what happens. Verse 18 says, I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. Again, what the younger son did here was so atrocious, was so unthinkable. In that culture, to go back home could be, probably would be, very, very problematic for him and the family. But he's so desperate that this is his best option. So he begins to recite a speech that he is going to have with his dad. Now, it's subtle, but notice how the son views himself. Notice the story that the son creates in his mind about himself. Look at verse 19. Verse 19, he says, I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Now let's sit with that for a moment. We each have a story that we're telling ourselves about our own worth, right? We have maybe like a tape that plays in our head. We have a story, a narrative that we're telling ourselves about our story. We each do. And sadly, it's often negative. You know, thoughts like, I'm not worthy. Or I'm not smart, I'm not thin enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not accomplished enough. So-and-so is better, so-and-so can work harder, so-and-so has more energy, so-and-so's kids are better, so-and-so is more present as a parent. I'm just a bad parent. I mean, whatever it is, we have our own story that each of us are telling ourselves about our own worth and value. And sometimes we're over here beating ourselves up because we have a narrative that speaks about just how unworthy we are, just like the son who hits rock bottom. Now let's sit with that for a second and go back to the story. Look at verse 20. So he gets up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. Oh man, the beauty of the father's love in that moment to his son is so life-giving. Here is a son who's thinking, man, my dad's probably going to kill me. I've just done the worst thing you could possibly imagine. But instead, the son doesn't receive rejection, doesn't receive rebuke. Rather, he receives armloads of life. And the son is embraced by that love, embraced by that life. Because to the father, his main motivator is love, not obedience, not rule following, no, love. And this kind of love doesn't make sense in a religious world, where in order for you to receive, you have to do something good. Rather, the Father's love is freely given no matter what. And this is what love does. It gives life, and life in abundance. And some of us here today, that is what we need. A loving embrace. Someone to tell us that you are good. It's okay. You, at your very core, you are deeply and dearly loved. And it's amazing how wise our kids are, right? I mean, I had a bad day recently. I have lots of them lately. Seems like with the pandemic, there's been a lot of them for me. And I came home, and Oliver, my son, walks up to me, and he looks at me, and the first thing he says as I walk through the door is he says, "Daddy, I love you so much. You're my best friend." And everything that had gone wrong in my day vanished, just completely vanished as my son, I don't know if he noticed that I was having a bad day, but he said exactly what I needed to hear. And then another day, I had another bad day. My daughter comes up to me and she says, "Daddy, can you hold me?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely, Sawyer." So I picked her up and she wrapped her arms around me. And as she wrapped her arms around me and she squeezed me, I just felt that life again. And again, I don't know if my kids are recognizing this, but I can just experiencing that love, experiencing that life. Oh man, it's just the kids can be so wise in moments, and they may not know what's going on, but they can sense it and they act it out. And those moments are precious to me, and I'll never forget about them. And I know maybe for some of you too, you've had those moments as well where you just feel down and out and you need that loving embrace, to be reminded once again that you are a human being and you are deeply and dearly loved, not because of what you've done or what you're going to do, just simply because it's who you are. Now let's look at verse 21. The son is with the father, right? And the son said to him, "Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son." But the father said to his servants, "Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." So they began to celebrate. Now notice the father doesn't say anything about the most atrocious thing that a son could ever do to a father. It doesn't even faze him. Doesn't even talk about it. Rather, he says, "Get him a robe." And giving him a robe is a sign of sonship. That's a sign that he belongs. In the father's eyes, he's saying, when he says get a robe, this is my boy. And nothing he can do or will ever change that truth. So when the son returns home, the father has a different narrative about who his son is. Now the son has a decision to make here. Do I trust my version of my story? I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Or do I trust the father's version of my story, which is I am dearly loved son, that no matter what, I am deeply and always will be dearly loved? Does he trust? Does he cling to the father's version of the story? Or does he trust his version of the story? What about you? What would you do? Let's keep that in the back of our mind. And remember, there's two brothers. The older brother is seeing all this happen, and he's seriously bothered by this. He wants nothing to do with this party. And look at what happens in verse 25. Meanwhile, the older son was in the field. When he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. So he called one of the servants and asked him what was going on. Well, your brother has come, he replied, and your father has killed the fattened calf because he's back and safe and sound. The older brother became angry and refused to go in. So his father went out and pleaded with him. But he answered his father, look, all these years I've been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders. Yet you never give me even a young goat so I can celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours, who has squandered your property with prostitutes, comes home, you kill the fattened calf for him. I mean, you can just feel the rage from the words that Jesus uses to describe the older brother. And the older brother basically makes his case that I've been over here playing the good son. I've been over here doing everything right, doing all these good things for you, and yet you throw a massive party for this son of yours, this son who has wronged you and me in so many ways. What are you doing, Dad? Why are you doing this? Why not me? Remember, the older brother said, look, all these years I've been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders. Now think about that. The older brother has a story about himself as well. See, the younger brother's story is I'm no longer worthy because of all that I've done. But the older brother's story is I am worthy because of all that I've done. And we've seen this before probably in our own lives. I did it all right, man. I was moral. I didn't do that or partake in this like everyone else did. I was present with my kids. I took them to church. I loved them well. Or I've been the good child. I've showed up at all the right times. I checked all the right boxes. Doesn't that count? Doesn't that gain me something? See, the older brother, his story is that I am your son. I'm your good son because of all the good things I've done for you. I am worthy because of all that I've done. And yet the father tells a different story of the older brother's story. Look at what the father says. He says, my son, the father said, you're always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. Now see what the father does. As the father's version of the story was basically him saying, yeah, okay, all those years that you stayed home and did all the good work and you were the good son and you were loyal, that didn't earn you being my son. You had that the whole time because you were always with me and everything I have here is yours. Isn't that beautiful? What an incredible response. According to Jesus, God is like a prodigal father who welcomes home his son without explanation. No questions are asked. He freely and gives love to his son without any apology asked for. He throws his arms around him and invites everyone to celebrate. For both sons, it is in losing that they discover what they have. And what they discover are armloads of life given by the Father, by their Father, who has and always will love them. And look, if you're a parent or a child or both watching this online, you are deeply and dearly loved, not because of what you've done or what you will do. Rather, you are simply loved by God, even if you have a messy past and even if you've been doing a bunch of great things. So the question for all of us today is, and the question for you and me, whose version of the story will we trust? Because the reality is the story that you're telling yourself deeply shapes how you live in the world. It deeply shapes how we interact within our own families. Because if we believe that at the deepest core that we are unworthy, we will tend to act in certain ways and flow out of that. If we believe that the world is a cold and dark, empty, nasty place where everyone is for themselves, and we got to kick and we got to shout and do whatever we can to crush others to get ahead, well, that's going to shape how we act. But if we believe that there is a God who responds with armloads of life, an undeserved self-giving love, and we believe that we are a child of God, we will begin to see the beauty, the wonder, the mystery, the love, the life that is all around us. And we'll act in light of that. And it will bring armloads of life within us and around our family. So as we encounter this kind of life-giving, other-centered love and acceptance and accept it, it begins to change us to do the same to those around us, especially within our family. I mean, this reality frees us to be who we are, thus giving us the capacity then to love those around us as we love ourselves. Now, there's a couple action steps that we could take as family members as we leave here today. And the first step, or first action step, is to not take a step. The first one is just be. Be still. Stop. Breathe. Take a deep breath. Life is busy. It's a lot. Parenting is hard. Being a child, being a kid is hard. Life is hard. Stop. Breathe. Reflect on the great mystery of self-sacrificing love. A love that chooses. A love that freely gives. A love that has no enemies. A love that never fails. A love that is embracing you right now in this moment. And when we're able to just sit in that great love, it moves within us, opening the door of awareness and aliveness. It's like a letting go of control, a letting go of our false self, and embracing the truth that we are deeply and dearly loved. You see, it is in and with God that we can love everything and everyone, even our enemies. So in that state, just take time to stop. We're always going. We're human beings, not human doings, right? We just need to take 5 minutes each morning to just reflect on the reality that you are loved. Not because of something you've done. You are a human being, not a human being. You're a human being, not a human doing. So just be. Just be. The second thing is how we live is the best teacher. There's a great poem that says this: how do children learn to correct their mistakes? By watching how you correct yours. How do children learn to overcome their failures? By watching how you overcome yours. How do children learn to treat themselves with forgiveness? By watching you forgive yourself. Therefore, your mistakes and your failures are blessings, opportunities for the best in parenting. Recognize that when it comes to being a parent, when it comes to being a leader, when it comes to being someone in your family, your life is a teacher to those around you. And then lastly, be open, be honest, be present. When we are embraced and aware of the constant love God gives us, it frees us to be open. It frees us to be honest. It frees us to be present because we've got nothing to prove. Because we are already loved and everything He has is already ours. No more striving. We stem from an abundance of love and acceptance. Show it publicly and watch as those around you learn what it means to be human too. Friends, wisdom is here with armloads of life. In fact, it's already embracing you and has always embraced you. And in that realization, may you embrace the love, the source of it all, and experience the awareness and light and aliveness that God has for you. And as you take each step, may you encounter more of that life moving through you to impact your kids, to impact your spouse, to impact your family with more and more life. Let's pray. God, we thank you for the life that you give us. We thank you for your love, how it is unending, always pursuing us, always there, always available. And really, we just get so preoccupied with stuff because life is hard. Parenting is hard. Being a kid is hard. It's all hard. It's hard to just simply be. But God, as we take time to just be still, even in this moment, may you remind us, or maybe you tell us for the first time, that we are deeply and dearly loved people. May we be aware of that no matter what we've done, whether bad or good, that you love us, you always will love us. You're never going to give up on us. You're always there. So may we show up too. And may we encounter that aliveness that you provide. May we be wrapped within that life the armloads of life. Give us wisdom and discernment as it comes to being human, as it comes to being a parent, as it comes to being a child, as it comes to being a family member, as we continue to pursue and love those around us well. Thank you, God. In your name, amen.
The sparrow's not worried about tomorrow or the troubles to come. The lily's not worried about the seasons, the drought or the flood. The tree that's planted by the water isn't fazed by the fire. So why should I be? 'Cause you take good care of me. You take good care of me. You know what I need before I even ask a thing. 'Cause you hold me in your hands with the kindness that never ends. I'm carried in your love no matter what the future brings. 'Cause you take good care of me. The sun's not worried about the winter, 'cause soon it will pass. The light's not thinking about the darkness or the shadow it casts. The heart that's planted in forgiveness doesn't dwell on the past. So why should I be? 'Cause you take good care of me. You take good care of me. You know what I need before I even ask a thing. And you hold me in your hands with the kindness that never ends. I'm carried in your love no matter what the future brings. 'Cause you take good care of me. I know there must be more, but I can't get past your kindness. I know there must be more, but I can't get past your goodness. I know there must be more, yeah, but I can't get past your kindness. I know there's got to be more, but I can't get past your goodness. 'Cause you take good care of me. You take good care of me. You know what I need before I even ask a thing. And you hold me in your hands with the kindness that never ends. I'm carried in your love no matter what the future brings. 'Cause you take good care of me.
Thanks for watching this episode in our Jumpcuts series. Each episode is available on demand on both Facebook and YouTube. To get even more for your personal faith, head over to thecrossing.com/read and get the Jumpcuts reading plan there. Then join the community of people who are reading and growing in wisdom together. We have a Facebook group where every day we will dig into Proverbs and get more out of this book. And it's not too late to join in. Proverbs jumps around, so you can really jump in at any time. Another cool thing we've got coming up soon is something that we do each summer called the Marriage Refresh. No matter what season of dating you might be in, you could be seriously dating or engaged or newlywed or married for decades, anyone and everyone could use a refresh. You can join us August 4th and 11th for a 2-part marriage experience with other couples from the Crossing. Each night will feature topics central to each relationship, table talk, and a time for each couple to connect and reflect together. You can go to thecrossing.com/marriage to sign up and get more info. And finally, thank you. Thank you to all of you who give to the Crossing. It is because of you that people's lives are changing and we are able to have the resources, services, and community here that make it possible for all kinds of people to experience Jesus. If you'd like to donate to the Crossing and be a part of it all, you can go to thecrossing.com/give. Thanks for joining us today, and be sure to share this service on Facebook or YouTube. Like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. We have new, helpful content for you each and every week. Check out the links and more in the description for this service. We have great content for kids and students also. Thanks again for being here, and we will see you online all the time and on campus on Sundays. See you soon.